GSMA is always running cooperative activities with the operators in the operator community whenever there's some need for a cross-operator collaboration. That's exactly what our role is. If there would be no need for a cross-operator collaboration, probably we would not be part of these discussions, and it would be up to all of you individually to do and to drive this. But in this case, our strong core belief is that an operator collaborative approach, a cross-operator network API proposition is in many cases, probably not always, but in many cases really essential for an attractive proposition for software partners, for developers, for whoever you want to partner with. And the reason why is simply depicted here in this picture. Most of the partners all of us want to deal with, and we have many in the room today, we're lucky. So these are horizontal partners, meaning they don't care about country, geography, and specifically not about the segmentation of the market, of a specific market across the multiple operators which are active in certain markets. Many of the operators are split into many operating companies, into many different countries. So on the telecommunications side, we have a quite fragmented market. On the other hand, most of our partners would not like to take care about this, but really address their customers regardless which country, which operator they are with, how the competitive situation amongst the telcos look like in a certain market. And it is not just that there are just a few operators out there and you would need to team up with 3, 4, 5 operators. The situation is much more complicated. So the world is split into many telecommunication operators, which you can see here. So these are the biggest 10 telecommunication companies, the next 10, the next 20, the next 50. And have in mind that many of even these big companies split into many local operating companies per country. So it's much more complicated than the picture would even explain. So that's why we are working with the operators, with the mobile telecommunications industry on solutions to facilitate operators to team up for a cross-operator network API proposition whenever this is required and makes sense. That is what the OneAPI program is about. And the OneAPI program started already a couple of years ago. Probably some of you will know this. And it started to address the first obstacle which has been identified, which is the obstacle between the heterogeneous and the fragmented telecommunication markets and the horizontal partners on top, which is on the API side. So the functional API to expose a payment capability, messaging capability, location capability, whatever you can think of. So this initiative started with specifications, ensuring that there is a homogeneous set of specification out there for all these capabilities, which can be leveraged by the operators, and by this getting rid of the technical heterogeneity and the technical complexity for partners to team up with operators and to make use of these APIs. This was the first phase. A quite extensive set of specification is available in the meantime. It's used by many parties, by many operators. Also outside the telecommunication industry, it is used already. But this was just the first phase, because then we immediately recognized that the heterogeneity on the technical side, on the API side, is just one area of complexity. There's one which might be even more complex and even more a big obstacle, which is on the business model and on the engagement side. So still, a partner needs to team up for the business processes, for registering, for subscribing to the API with many operators, even though these operators expose the same technical API. That was the second phase, where we implemented what we call the OneAPI gateway. It is something like an aggregation platform. So a platform, a managed service, which runs between the operators and the partners, the service providers, and aggregates all the APIs, but not just the technical API, but also then the business processes, and serves as a single point of contact to the partners for the APIs, for the business processes. And by this, getting rid of the second dimension of complexity on the business process side. So again, that is a step forward. On the other hand, what we learned is that this is a really good approach for many operators, for many partners. But there are some operators who, in the meantime, also identified software partners, developers as a really strategic asset. And some operators ask us to come up with an approach extending this OneAPI gateway approach, which allows them to be in direct contact with their partners, with the developers. So no man in the middle, no platform in the middle between them and the partners. And that is what we have engineered and implemented then in the last year, the OneAPI Exchange platform. This comes exactly with these characteristics of it's a federated architecture, or what we call a federated architecture. So operators expose the APIs themselves, and we have some glue in the back end, and you don't see this between the operators and the developers, to federate between the APIs of operators who plug in their APIs to federate for a cross-operator proposition. And just to mention this, there's not an inconsistency between what we call the OneAPI gateway, the OneAPI exchange, because also the OneAPI gateway can be plugged into the exchange, the overall federation layer, and acts just as an access node to this overall federation for other operators for which this approach is fit for purpose. So in this way, this is complementary and fits with each other. We will open up and establish this user group in the next few weeks. If you like to become involved in this, and we would be really happy to work with as many as possible with you, let us know. We will also provide some names and some contacts later on for all the guys who are relevant for you to talk to. So if you like, if this makes sense for you, if you want to discuss with us, let us know, and let's step into discussion then.